We are here in our office in São Paulo, receiving one of our clients here, that is Sean from KTO. Sean, thank you so much to be here with us in our office here in Brazil. It's a huge pleasure to receive you here.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect, thank you. So, briefly, tell us about KTO and your role there.
Yeah, so KTO has been around since 2019, operating in Brazil. So we're founded by a Swedish guy called Andreas Bardun. He worked for several big operators in gambling before. So we're a gambling operator. We do casino, we do sportsbook driven. And we started in the south of Brazil, so we're kind of known as the brand from the south. But in the last 5 years, we've grew exponentially. We've got a lot of kind of national brand recognition now. So yeah, that's KTO.
Good.
In terms of myself, I've worked in gambling for the last 11 years, so just over a decade. My background is regulated markets, so Sweden, Denmark, UK, Malta, Canada. I've worked generally in regulated markets, and currently Brazil is a slight gray area, but we got some regulation 2 months ago. So yeah, so we're working towards that. In terms of what I do at KTO, I lead all of the operational teams. So at the moment, the organization's around 160 people, of which the operations is around 50, 55. You know, sometimes it grows, sometimes it contracts.
Yeah.
And the customer-facing teams would be customer support. I manage the payment and risk teams, the anti-money laundering teams.
Awesome.
And with you guys, I manage the payment products as well on the side. So yes, I provide the operational leadership for KTO.
Nice. A lot of teams with you.
A lot of teams.
Yeah. So what are the strengths or highlights of KTO? Thinking about the market, the competition, etc.
I think one thing that stands out for KTO is kind of we have a reputation as being trustworthy. I think this comes from our founder and our management team have always worked in regulated markets. So we understand what player protection is. We see ourselves similar to a payment institution or a insurance company, right? When players are entitled to their money, they get their money.
Yeah.
We will always pay out. So I think that's our major strength in terms of positioning. It's just the trust factor is very, very high with KTO.
Yeah, awesome. Amazing. And when did the KTO start to process in Brazil?
We started processing in 2019.
Wow.
I mean, since then we've grew 1,300%, give or take.
Yeah.
So we were processing back in the days of a TEDs transfer, where players would deposit on a Thursday so they could bet on a Saturday. But in terms of PIX, which is the main solution we have through PagSeguro, we started processing with PIX in January of 2021.
Yeah.
So I believe we were probably in the first 2 operators actually in Brazil to be using PIX.
Yeah.
So 3 months after that, that product came available, we had it available for pay-ins and payouts.
Yeah. Awesome.
So it's been a significant change from the TEDx days to PIX.
Yeah, awesome, good. So what were KTO's main challenges before implementing the solution?
One of the main problems was the commercials. We were spending a lot of money on payments. And historically in gambling, you will always spend a lot of money on payments. So marketing is your number 1 cost. Payments is your second cost. Now, with Brazil regulating, the license is going to cost around 30 million Brazilian reals. It's a lot of money. So we needed to save as much money as possible before we apply for that license so that we can optimize other areas of the business.
Perfect.
Ready for regulation.
Sure, makes sense, yeah. What was the trigger that made you look for a solution like PagSeguro?
I think it was PagSeguro's positioning in the market. So you're a huge company. We need bigger partners now than we did 4 or 5 years ago. Our volume has grown substantially. A lot of companies don't have the tech stack that allows them to work with this level of volume. And so that was probably the main factor, that we knew that because of who we know you process for already, that you could process the volume that we have. And when we grow, you can grow with us.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. And I imagine that you saw a lot of other competitors. What made you choose PagSeguro, not other competitor?
I think it was probably the same reason, right? That we knew your tech stack was strong. Your positioning in the market is very, very strong. We have used other payment processors before, but we didn't think they could grow at or help us grow at the same rate that we have been growing for the last 4 or 5 years.
Amazing, awesome. Thank you for the partnership. Upon integration our solution, what were KTO's main expectations?
Our main expectation was to improve our acceptance rate, which we did by around 1.5%.
Yep.
And it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking millions of dollars per
Yeah.
month, that 1% makes a significant difference.
Sure.
And I think the other one for us, and especially in gambling, payout and speed is the main metric that customers measure you by. How fast do you pay customers? And so we've increased our payout time quite substantially.
Good.
By transferring to you.
Perfect. Awesome. How was the negotiation process with PagSeguro?
Yeah, it was a very good process. It took us a while on our side to sign. The reason for that was because we wanted to transfer a significant amount of volume to you. We needed to ensure that we could trust you guys, that you could process the volume. A lot of people in this industry overpromise and underdeliver, and so from our side, we were slightly apprehensive. So it took us a while, but we got there in the end, and you've promised exactly what you said you would deliver.
Good. And what about the integration process? How was the experience with us?
Integration was excellent. I mean, we have payment integration specialists on our side.
Yeah.
You have payment integration specialists on your side.
Yeah.
I think we actually got the integration done before we signed the contract.
That's true,
so
yeah.
it was a very, very seamless experience. Integrating, I think, took us maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah,
which
awesome.
is generally quite quick.
Good. And how was the experience of working closely with us to build the local payment solution to KTO as KTO needed?
It's been excellent. I think we're still working on it, of course, with it being a new vertical for you guys processing in gambling markets. Victor, who's off screen here, messages me every day. If I have any problems, I can speak to him, I can speak to you. So in terms of building that, we're still working on it, I think.
Yeah.
We have a very good experience as it is, but everything can be improved, right? So
also,
it's
we
good.
always have things to improve.
Of course.
For sure. Good. How did PagSeguro solution change your company scenario?
I think it's going back to what we said at the start. It's allowed us to kind of optimize our spend in other areas by saving money on our payment processing costs. It's also quickened the speed of our payouts. Again, super important. So it's been useful.
Yes, awesome. So together, KTO and PagSeguro have achieved extraordinary numbers in a short time.
Yeah.
In your view, what were the key reasons for that? Can you share the results with us, or?
Yeah, I can share that when we started, we soft launched you guys. So we gave you maybe 5 to 10% of the traffic for a week.
Yeah.
We gained some trust. And then I think you went to around 85% of our volume in about 10 days.
Yeah.
So to process 85% of our volume in 10 days and to have no problems doing that is quite impressive, actually.
Yeah.
From PagSeguro's side.
Yeah, for sure. Good. Based on the current scenario, what are the company's expectations now?
Our expectations are to grow significantly over the next couple of years. We expect regulation to be here either later this year or very early in 2025. So most of our resources are going to be going into becoming compliant with whatever the Brazilian government says the regulations are.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot of time and effort going into compliance.
Yeah, good. So what do you expect from this partnership in the future, man?
I expect us to grow. I think you already process a significant portion of our processing volume.
Yeah.
I think that will grow over time as the relationship matures. And I expect us to be able to learn from each other. It's your first rendezvous in the gambling industry. It's our first time in a regulated Brazilian environment. So we can definitely both grow together going forward.
And what are the company's perspective for the future of the betting industry in Brazil and across Latin America?
So Brazil is obviously my main focus. We will see regulation either late this year or early next year. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of operators currently active that maybe won't because of the cost of the license going forward. I'm not an expert in the other Latin American markets, but Peru is currently also is regulating.
Yep.
Chile potentially may regulate, and there's some regulatory changes coming in Colombia and Mexico. So, in general, the Latin American gambling space is going to grow significantly over the next couple of years.
What are KTO's plans and views for the Brazilian market?
So we expect regulation by the end of this year, if not the start of next year.
Yep.
We want to take as much market share as possible in that time frame. And I think we'll see a lot of players entering the market, particularly from the US.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of players leaving the market because it's going to be expensive to operate in a regulated environment.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of change over the next 7 to 12 months.
Perfect, good. And how does the Brazilian betting industry is different from other regions?
It varies hugely. I think one thing that a lot of the European and US operators don't realize is that Brazil has countries within countries.
Yeah.
So I have worked in Sweden before, I have worked in Denmark before. Sao Paulo, where we are now, has a population double the size of Denmark, the same size as Sweden. So being hyper-local is really important to us, but what appeals to customers in the south of Brazil does not appeal to customers in Sao Paulo, does not apply to customers in the north. So it's about being hyper-local and realizing that there's a lot of diversity in this country and you have to change your approach depending on where you're advertising.
Yeah, awesome, good. So Sean, thank you so much for your visit here in our office, for this conversation. It's a huge pleasure to be here with you, and mostly for the partnership. I hope we can continue growing together and scale our business.
I'm sure we will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renato.
Perfect.